Welcome to the latest episode of Jets, Mets, and Regrets. I am joined by Jason, who is the world's largest Mets fan who has one time been to Zimbabwe.
That is, in fact, going to have to be fact checked after this episode, but that is true for now. What is
True
up,
for
Rick?
now. We'll take it.
How are we doing today? How are we doing today?
Doing all right. I got a lot of stuff done today. You can see behind me here we have the Champagne and Thorns studio set up. I was gonna shoot from the studio, but I couldn't quite get the forward facing camera on my phone at the right depth for Skype. So coming up here. So we'll see how that all goes. But we've been shooting those episodes, and that's been going good. Bachelorette season in full swing.
Make sure, hey, I know Rick is one of the biggest Bachelorette fans I know, so please make sure you check out his show. I have not heard somebody talk about it more in my life than Rick. So he is dedicated to the game, and you will not be disappointed watching the shows, doing his fantasy app. Get involved.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an endorsement or not, but
Yeah,
it's
I
definitely
was not
definitely
paid. I
fun.
was not a commercial. I was not paid for that. So take it as it is.
Oh man. So hey, there's a lot to talk about in Mets and Jets land here. Um, All-star teams were announced. Do you want to start there?
There is the first pick. I just want to get it out of the way. I know a lot of people watching or will be watching have a lot of questions. Yes, I am in a new place filming today. I'm normally in my dining room kitchen setup, but the Mets are playing your Cubbies right now, up 5-0. I couldn't resist the urge to watch and talk to you at the same time. But I promise I'll be focused over here. But yeah, this is a little bit of a new setup for me. But yeah, All Stars. Love to get into it. Mets had 4 All Stars, which is awesome. The Mets are usually the team who nobody gets voted in, and every team has to have one All-Star, so they normally get one picked, obviously, but to have 4, I mean, well deserved, Rick. They're in first place right now. I think a first place team should have a couple of All-Stars.
So let's shoot through this list real quick, and then we'll get some thoughts on it. The only starter is Edwin Diaz. And starter is a bit of a weird term, but he will pitch. And then you got Alonso, McNeil, and Marte as reserves. Are you surprised at all you didn't get any offense as a starter?
It was tough. You have a lot of great players in the NL. I think Alonso was the one who I was a little bit disappointed in. I think he's having a great year. He has cooled off the last week or two, so that could have potentially hurt his status. And Paul Goldschmidt's having a great year. And I think ultimately what might have hurt Alonso a little bit is probably his defense. He's by no means a horrible defensive player, but when you compare his offensive numbers to Goldschmidt's and then compare their defense, I mean, offensively they're both great players, but defensively you have to give the nod to Goldschmidt.
So I have to ask, did you vote every day?
I honestly didn't vote at all. I should have, but I was very busy, with work and personal life and things going on. So I honestly did not vote at all. And I've never really been a big voter. Don't think I voted for an All-Star game since probably when I was in middle school, back in like 2006, 2007, for those like Reyes, David Wright, Beltran, Delgado Mets back in that day. But I could have been the difference maker, Rick. I will accept blame and put that on my shoulders. Next year, I personally will get Alonso one.
That was going to be my next question. Do you feel personally responsible for Marte not being a starter? Because I feel like that was the thinnest margin for votes.
Yeah, I know we're not getting to regrets yet, but if you wanted to do the regret version right now, portion right now, like, yeah, I do feel a little bad that I didn't get my guy Marte and Alonso in. Yeah, I could have been the difference. I could have posted more on social media. So, like I said, it won't happen again, Rick. And any Met fans who have any ill towards me, like I promise I will do better next year.
So, like you said, 4 All-Stars. That's amazing. That's a good haul. When you're only guaranteed one by baseball, having 4, that's a good haul for a team that's having a great season.
Yeah, and I think they're all deserving. To go over, I'm a statistic guy, so to go over to some statistics real quick. Edwin Diaz year to date, I think he's top in the majors, averaging 18 strikeouts per 9. So just ridiculous numbers. That to do the simple math for everybody at home right now, that's 2 strikeouts every inning. The guy has been lights out. He's had, a number of innings where he struck out the side. Just his stuff is electric. He's looking like the Edwin Diaz that the Mets traded for a couple years back, when he was on Seattle and had that record-breaking year. So really pleased there. In my opinion, he is the best closer in baseball right now. Putting saves aside and blowing saves aside, I think his stuff has just been that electric.
Because anytime you can strike out 2 out of every 3 batters you face, that's what you want to do from a baseball standpoint.
Especially from a closer. So you got him, McNeil again, I think well-deserved. And all these guys who got in, it's actually all their second appearance in an All-Star game, which is kind of cool. But McNeil, same thing, been playing a lot of second base for the Mets this year, left field. A really good all-around player, plays great defense. He's actually 8th in the league right now, or it might be 8th in the majors in batting average. He's batting 311. So just really good contact guy, gets on base, gets clutch hits. So I think well-deserving there. I think if you put him in the outfield, kind of tough, a little bit crowded, a lot of talented outfielders. But if you put him at second base, I mean, he is one of the, if not the best second baseman in the NL. And that's more of an old school approach. You don't really see guys hitting for average that much anymore. So
that's true.
McNeil definitely deserving. Alonso, same thing. I mean, still, even though he has cooled off a little bit over the last couple of weeks, still first in Major League Baseball in RBI, so that's great. And then third in the National League in home runs, so same thing. And we'll see, he'll be participating in the home run derby on Monday, which we're very, very excited about. Trying to be the first back-to-back person to ever win. I think there's a couple I looked before who have won 3, but never a three-peat has ever been done in the history of the home run derby. And I think he's making it fun. A lot of times, like in these all-star game home run derby contests, like players shy away from it. He's really endorsed it and loved it. And I really like that about him. And then real quick, before we send it back to you, Marte, just a really great all-around player. I mean, he's almost batting 300. He's brought his average up tremendously over the last couple months. He's always been a 300 hitter and almost his entire career. So doing that. A couple other numbers: 9 home runs, 40 RBIs, 10 stolen bases. Plays amazing defense. I think he has the 4th best WAR out of all outfielders in the National League. Brandon Nimmo actually being 3rd for the Mets. But yeah, Marte just really, really brings a lot to the table. So yeah, I think they're all well deserving, and I think they all have statistics that back it up, in my opinion, for a first base team.
Yeah, I always liked Marte. He was a Pirate when I was an actual Cubs fan, not like now where I'm jaded and cynical. But he was always fun to watch. He was a quick player. He stole a lot of bases early in his career. So, Jason, I do have to ask, excited about the 4 All-Stars? Who is left out? Who is your next Met up that should be on the All-Star team?
Yeah, I think you have 3. I mentioned Nimmo real quick being 3rd in WAR. I don't have too much more Nimmo besides like he's kind of like Marte. He's the leadoff hitter for the Mets, and he really does it all. He plays great defense. He gets on base. He gets hits. He's clutch. He's really a leader on this team and a tone setter, and on a team that has a lot of leaders and tone setters, in my opinion. But I think you could argue that he could have been there. And then 2 more guys. I think you're going to have Taijuan Walker and Lindor. A lot of great starting pitching this year in Major League Baseball, specifically the National League. So kind of tough, but Walker an All-Star last year, and this year currently sitting at a 2.62 ERA, being the 10th best in the National League. So I think you could have made a case for him, and especially what he's meant to this team with Scherzer just coming back but missing a month and a half out of the year, and the ground not even pitching yet this year. You could argue that Taijuan Walker has been the anchor and the ace on this staff for him not really getting hurt or being out for this year. So I think Walker could have been deserving, but I see why he was left off. And then I think Lindor, another one, a lot of great shortstops in Major League Baseball in the National League. But if you run shortstop numbers real quick, Lindor has the 2nd most RBIs for a shortstop, and then the 3rd most home runs. Not hitting for average, which I think has knocked him a little bit. Always plays great defense. But you have some great guys in there, specifically Trey Turner being one of the best in the game. But I think Lindor definitely could have been deserving of this year. But yeah, that, at those points you have a lot of guys and they're kind of on the fringe, and you can't pick everybody, unfortunately. So those guys got left off, but I think they still mean a lot to this team, and they're still all-stars for this team right now, and proving that they are part of the recipe for the Mets still being in first and on July, what are we at right now? 14th? On July 14th.
Yep, chasing the Dodgers by just a little bit.
Just a little bit, right? Yeah, just a little bit. But hey, we split, like I said earlier, we still got one more series with him, but we split this year without Scherzer and without DeGrom. So really, really feeling confident about how we could potentially match up with the Dodgers. Also knowing too, they could go out and get somebody, but I truly believe the Mets are going to go out and get somebody at the trade deadline, whether it's probably a back end bullpen piece and then potentially a DH, which is a scenario that the Mets haven't gotten great production from this year.
So I went in, I looked. I'm a peripheral stats kind of guy, but Chris Bassett having himself a great year. 10 quality starts and 16 starts. He's got 98 strikeouts coming in. I think he pitched yesterday.
Yeah.
Um,
on the rubber match.
47% ground ball rate. He's got a low whip. He's got a K per 9 right around 9. Like he's putting together maybe not an all-star season, but that was the one guy when I looked top to bottom. I'm like, who would I like to see highlighted in an all-star game type situation? Like who's the guy on the Mets team that no one has heard of that has pretty good stuff and everyone should see? And it's Bassett. And I know West Coast people know him a little bit more. But he's looked eye test wise, he's looked really, really good this year. I've enjoyed watching him pitch. I think I've seen him pitch like 3 times. And maybe not an all-star by traditional metrics, but definitely for me, for the money, the Mets pitcher I would most like to see in an all-star game type situation. Let him get in a high leverage against, God knows who from the American League. Let Trout get up there or something and just see what he can do.
Yeah, Bassett's a great one. All-star last year in Oakland. And honestly, I think if we were to look at all starts, I can't say it off the top of my head, but I think he really only had 2 or 3 starts where he gave up like 4 or 5 runs, maybe even 6 runs. And I think that's the difference maybe in an all-star appearance, where right now his ERA is sitting in the high 3s, where he could easily be under 3 right now if it wasn't for 2 or 3 starts, honestly. He kind of had a bad stretch for a little bit. But yeah, I agree, a very underrated pitcher for the Mets. And like you said, 10 quality starts. Like that's been huge with Scherzer and DeGrom out, like needing people to still be, home run Nimmo. Home run Nimmo. Sorry, man.
The Cubs are so bad.
Snubbed, right? Talking about an all-star got stubbed.
Who's pitching for the Cubs? They're awful.
It looks like, I think Al Leiter has a son. I'm not sure if that's his son or not. Not a common last name. Is that Al Leiter's son?
I have no idea.
Yeah, you know Al Leiter, right?
I'm not sure I could name you 5 players in the Cubs.
It says Leiter Jr. and Al Leiter was a former Met. I mean, he was on the Mets in the World Series in 2000, actually. Really good pitcher for them. And I know his son was getting drafted. It might not be his son, but anyway, yeah. But I really agree. I think Bassett, like you said, like he's had those 10 quality starts. Like he's kept the Mets in game, and in a time where they've had to rely on him, a Walker, even a Carrasco, who's had some good games, some bad games, pitching well today against a bad Cubs team. But yeah, a lot of really good pitchers on the staff. And I think overall, like Bassett's an example of that entire staff, like really picking it up for Scherzer and DeGrom the last couple months.
Al Leiter is his uncle.
Got it. Okay.
His dad pitched too, Mark Leiter. Doesn't stand out to me though.
Interesting. Okay.
Played for 11 years. Yankees, Brewers, Expos, Tigers. Yeah, no kidding. I guess his brother plays too. All right, so you've mentioned it a couple times over the last few episodes here. Finally got Scherzer back. And Jason, I gotta be honest with you, his numbers pretty pedestrian. Not great since he's been back. All he's done is 1 run, 5 hits over 13 innings with 172 pitches total. I think he had like 14 strikeouts.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much more to say other than, I want to highlight the Braves series. Like going in, Mets they haven't played bad baseball, but the Braves have been really hot. The Mets have cooled off a little bit, not tremendously, but a little bit. And to get Scherzer back this past Monday to go into the series against the Braves, only being up 1.5 games, and to have Scherzer pitch Monday, the opener of the series, and to put up the numbers that he did, that is huge. That is why you pay him $43 million a year. That is
No.
why they signed him for 3 years. And ultimately, like, that's why the team is honestly not really talking about DeGrom that much. Like, we could talk about him in a second with him coming back, but like, that's why you go out and get a Scherzer, to be insurance for DeGrom since he's been unhealthy the last couple of years, and to do what he's done in those last two starts that you mentioned. It's huge.
Losing that game to the Reds hurts, but absolutely what you want to see from one of your aces coming back in his first start. That was he took the Reds apart. He hit a guy, but other than that, his control was perfect, and he didn't walk anybody else. So yeah, amazing to see coming back. You see a guy like Chris Sale come back and be on a pitch limit. A little bit of a different situation with Sale, obviously, with the surgery, but to be able to come off the shelf and pitch like your old self is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why he's a future Hall of Famer. Like, nothing against Sale, and I don't know if he's necessarily a Hall of Famer or not, but yeah, like, you have the Scherzers, the Verlanders, like, you have a couple guys in the league now who are obviously first ballot Hall of Famers, and they've proved that like they can pitch into their late 30s, maybe even early 40s. So yeah, Scherzer's one of those guys, and maybe him being well rested for missing a month and a half, like, could bode well for the playoffs. I know last year with the Dodgers, he kind of had a dead arm towards the end of the year in those playoff runs, and he wasn't able to pitch. But hopefully a guy like that, like, at the end of the day, you just need to get to the playoffs and have him healthy. That's all
Yep.
you need from him.
So DeGrom nearing a return here. It sounds like it'll be before the end of the month. What are your thoughts on DeGrom coming back? Where does he slot in?
Yeah. Again, I mean, to have, if he could stay healthy, potentially another future Hall of Famer in that rotation, him and Scherzer. I mean, if they both could be at the top of their game or pitch as well as we know them to pitch to, like, there's no reason why, in my opinion, the Mets can't make a deep run in October. The fact that they're sitting 2.5 up in first place with DeGrom missing 5, 6, 7 starts this year, and I mean Scherzer, and then DeGrom not even pitching at all. Like, as a Met fan, you feel really confident, and you can't say the players don't feel that same way. I mean, the players are human; they know where they're at in the standings. They know what a Scherzer and DeGrom can provide. So I think, if anything, it just will give them more confidence and a boost going into the end of the year and making a run. And to have those two guys, and then a Taiwan Walker pitching to a 2.62 ERA, a Bassett, like you mentioned, and then take your pick, Peterson being like a 3.5 ERA, Carrasco being a great veteran pitcher. Like, they're going to have a lot of options, and whoever doesn't make the cut will just bolster that bullpen, which has been a little bit of a struggle. But feel really good. I mean, how can't you at this point, right?
That's the thing. How often do you get a Cy Young candidate back after the All-Star break? Like, you plug him into your roster, you're instantly better.
Yeah, and I think realistically, it'd be cool for him to get. I think he's slated to probably get 2 starts before. He's gonna get one more rehab start, probably 2 more before they call him back up. But I think that'll be perfect. It'll really let you know at the trade deadline, like, what do you need to go after? Like, is he healthy? Is he fine? Like, is he going to be able to pitch? And if the answer is yes, you're good. If not, maybe you look at some starting pitching depth. But I think at this point for the trade deadline, which we probably could talk about next episode, really thinking DH and back end bullpen help is what this team needs.
I think that's probably fair. Being able to get 2 top-tier pitchers back mid-season is something the shitty teams dream about.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's essentially, Rick, it's essentially trading for 2 players.
Well, that's the thing, and you just plug them in, and
basically doing without giving up prospects at this point.
yeah, and wherever DeGrom is, I mean, you have your one in Scherzer, right? So whoever DeGrom is when he comes back, he's in your rotation. He's better than your number 5 guy for sure. So I mean, at the high end of the scenario, you have your 1 and 2. Any other scenario, you have an upgrade. So I mean, it's a fantastic position to be in.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see, but I mean, he's not going to go about like, oh, he's striking out single A batters. I think he's about to, his next rehab starts in AAA. I mean, he's in 100 on the gun. Like, the arm looks good. Looks like he has the velocity. He has the movement. Yeah, just got to get back in action.
Yeah, absolutely. My last baseball thought was actually on the home run derby that I was really excited to tune in for till I realized it was going head to head with Bachelorette. So
some dual screen, right? Some dual monitors.
well, so
ticket. We'll call it Monday Ticket.
I took over the fantasy league. I took over the Rose League, so I had to do the live scoring while we watch.
Okay.
And
Okay.
man, Monday's episode kicked my ass.
Yeah.
So we had our 602 watch party Wednesday night. And it was like watching it for the first time. There's so much shit that I missed. So it'll be on the home run tournament. The Derby will be on the little TV. We'll have it
Okay.
going. But
Well, what time are you guys? The Derby is 8 p.m. Eastern time. What time is that by
same
you?
time, exact same time. They're literally in the same time slot.
Everything's okay, so you can't
Everything's
really.
at 7 o'clock Central Time.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, hey, if the Derby goes on a little bit longer, you'll have to tune in. Especially if Alonso's still in it.
Well, and that's what work is for on Tuesday. I'll just watch the Derby at work.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So for the first time in a little bit, we have non-hypothetical Jets news to talk about.
We do.
I'm gonna just let you run with it. I know that I know you've been excited about this one.
Oh yeah. I mean, so Zach Wilson. For those listening, I'm assuming if you're a Jet fan, you gotta know. But for those who don't know, Zach Wilson's former BYU teammate, wide receiver. Pretty sure he's on the Washington Redskins or Commanders, or what are they called now? Commanders, right?
Commanders.
Okay, I'm still learning that one. Pretty sure he's a wide receiver. I want to say Dax
Yep,
something. What is
that's
it?
correct. It is Dax Milne.
Dax Milne. Yeah, so receiver on the Commanders. Played him with BYU. Supposedly Wilson, one of Wilson's best friends. But he posted on Instagram over the weekend a picture of him and Zach Wilson's ex-girlfriend. Now, kind of insinuating that they were dating and together, which obviously, Rick being bros, like this is part of the code, right? No matter how much of a connection sometimes you might have with somebody, no matter how much you might be attracted to somebody, like if you're best friends with somebody, like that's sometimes just a river you're not going to cross, right? Something you're not going to mess with. But obviously he did break the bro code. But his new girlfriend, Zach Wilson's ex-girlfriend, trying to defend his actions, right? Saying, "Oh, well, Zach Wilson was hooking up with his mom's best friend or his mom's friend, right? Trying to put it back on Zach being the bad guy." And what I love from all this, Rick, is I love the support that this not just his teammates, Rick, the entire sports world has given Zach Wilson in what has gone on, right? We're something where I think his ex-girlfriend maybe thought like, oh, like we were gonna bring him down and make him seem like a bad guy. I mean, hey, like as long as his mom's friend, wasn't married and he didn't ruin a family, like there's nothing wrong with it. And that hasn't even come out yet, right? Nothing has come out saying that he did ruin a family or she was dating somebody. So and I'm on my phone right now. I just want to go through some of the tweets. Maybe we could post a couple
Man, the memes are
on here.
insane.
Uh but I mean, I have one of my favorites. We have Zach Wilson's before Dax took down the comments on his post, so you can't comment anymore or say anything. Uh, he said, "I don't know what's going to be a bigger joke, the relationship or your NFL career." So, great comment right there from Zach Wilson's equipment manager on the Jets. Gotta love that one. Another one I love, Elijah Moore, one of my favorite Jets right now. Kind of reply tweeting to Chad Johnson, who said, "Zach Wilson is the GOAT." That is the tweet from Chad Johnson. Chad Ochocinco himself. Zach Wilson is the GOAT. Elijah Moore said, "No cap." Uh, I got a funny video, actually. That one I can't really talk about. Well, I can talk about it, but unless we post it, it's just from NFL memes account. It says Zach Wilson when his mom's friend comes over for a book club, and it's some mom leaning in on some guy. Just great. I mean, the internet's undefeated, Rick. The internet is undefeated. That is the content we like. Uh, and then I'll do one or two more because I could go on with this. Like I love this, Rick. I'm eating this up. Tyler Conklin reply tweeted, new Jet tight end. It's a scene from The Office, and the tweet is actual conversation between Tyler Conklin and Zach Wilson during OTAs. And it kind of was a scene where it went along him talking about like, oh, like what type of woman or females do you like? And he's like, moms. So just And Conklin did one of these
Jesus.
emojis and then with the laughing face. So just again, his teammates are embracing it. Chad Johnson, one of the best receivers of all time, embracing it. Just really love it. And then finally, from the GOAT himself, from the dog. Everybody's calling Zach Wilson a dog right now. I've even been using that, I think, this past weekend with like Kendall and stuff. Just talking about dogs. He's a dog. I like that terminology. But Zach Wilson tweeting, quote, took the boys to some type of club or whatever to Idaho before camp. Poor cell service. What did I miss? Strategically, a couple days after all of this happened. So I love it, Rick. I mean, as a Jet fan, how can't you love it? I'd love to hear from you though, like a non-Jet fan, football fan perspective on all of this.
The whole thing is wild. I've long been a proponent of the idea that bro code's not real. But his girlfriend clapping back on Instagram because somebody called her a homie hopper and just launching this out there is wild. But to see the NFL community and the Twitter community and the Jets fans and the NFL players just all take Zach Wilson's side on this, incredible. I saw one. It's this dude just at a dead sprint down the road. It says Brady on his way home after realizing Giselle is also a friend of Zach Wilson's mom. And then I think my favorite, it's I'm so like deep down Jets Twitter at this point that like the tweet's not even that good, but it says Zach Wilson likes 56-year-olds. Guess what Super Bowl is this year? And it's like, man, just the fact that everybody kind of surrounded him on this blew me away. I thought for sure that the talking heads on Fox Sports or some shit were gonna rip him apart for, not being focused on his game or some bullshit like that. And I've only heard positives about Zach Wilson, up to and including that he took two BYU cheerleaders to his high school prom.
Not one, two.
Yeah, my thoughts on Zach Wilson as a quarterback are well documented, but like, dude got some dog in him.
Rick, I think you'd be hearing like if this came out and then like he wasn't focused on football, I think you would hear it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have his priorities straight, but I think you're not hearing that because I think the guy is focused. I think like we talked a couple episodes ago, he's in great shape, right? Like he looks bigger, his legs look good, like he's gotten into shape, and all you hear from his players is like he's busting his butt, he's having these quarterback camps. Like it seems like he's really doing a lot. And hey, at the end of the day, they're professional athletes, right? A single professional athlete, like Rick, if we were in those shoes, like what would we do, right? If you were the
Party
quarterback
all the time.
like
And I'm probably gonna fuck some moms.
what are you gonna do? And like I think that's the biggest thing here. It's like he's the quarterback of the Jets and he's single. Like he's doing what a guy would do in that specific situation.
And as a fan, would you rather he hook up with suburban moms or these groupies around New York?
Yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold did it, right? And he ended up getting mono. So screwed the season out.
Right.
So I'll say that, hey, if Darnold maybe look at the Sam Darnold approach, I'm sure that Woody Johnson, the owner, was like, hey, this is what happened with Darnold. I know what you're going to do, but go the suburban mom out maybe. And like, hey, as of now, he doesn't have mono. Or he's getting it out of the way before the season even starts. Right?
Yeah, right. As long as they don't miss any games, no one cares.
Yeah. I don't risk anything and I don't miss games. If he's smart, maybe he would have some, like, I don't know if they have like a mono testing kit. You could go around testing people, but maybe he does that during the season to not jeopardize anything. But hey, and there's I'm sure you saw it too. There was some like tweet or Instagram post. It's all over the internet now. I think it's Zach Wilson's mom running a cardio biking class with a bunch of moms, and she's like, "Look at all my friends," and yeah, they're all attractive older women.
They're gonna have a suite at Jets games, and the whole team gonna get in on it.
Oh, I mean, they're giving him shit in a good way about it right now. So, I'm sure he's being a good sport about it through the post too. So, when that happens in life, like that's all you can do.
Just roll with it. Just roll with it.
He is PAGG dog. That is If I get a Wilson, I don't even know if I want a Wilson jersey. I think I just want a dog jersey.
Dog.
Say dog on the back. For
Not.
Wilson, it could be for Wilson, it could be for Randy, like whoever you want to call it. But yeah, dog.
I don't know if NFL Shop will make those jerseys. Way back when we tried to get a Eagles jersey, it said Dog Slayer on the back. I think you could connect the dots on that one. NFL Shop wouldn't print it.
Yeah.
You got anything else on the Jets here? We kind of thin on real Jets news.
That's it for now. I think that's the biggest thing coming out. Until preseason gets going in a couple weeks, like really not
Close.
much about. Really think focused on baseball right now. But yeah, it's coming, and we're super excited. Obviously, probably have an episode where we could talk some fantasy and talk about some Jet impact players who could be some good pickups for the year. I think that would be cool to talk about. I mean, the Jets are starting to get on the map now. I think people realize they had a great draft. The Zach Wilson has given them a lot of media hype, but yeah, I think this year they have a lot of potential players who could be good steals and late round picks if you're paying attention. So we'll get into that.
And right here, 20 minutes into this episode, I'll drop a little teaser that I'm sure no one will hear. But I think we're going to do a weekly Q&W show in the fall. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. I'm trying to trial it right now. We'll see what we got.
Yeah, I love it. I love some fantasy shows. I mean, fantasy football is huge. We all do it, right? So yeah, to have a show, I think that would be really, really exciting.
All right. So you mentioned a regret being potentially not voting for your Mets All-Stars. Do you got another regret from the last couple weeks you wanted to talk about?
I think those are the biggest regrets. I mean, unsports related. My sink's been clogged for a couple weeks in my kitchen, and I need to put a ticket in. I don't know why I've been putting it off. Another day, I was doing some dishes, and yeah, of course, boom. Then takes 2 or 3 days for the sink to go down. So kind of like the Jets dress jersey. It's like one of those type of things where I'm kind of slacking, got to get it done. But just like the Jets jersey, I will get that tailored before the season. Just like the sink, I will get that fixed before the season. So promise you all that. How about you? Any regrets, Rick?
Yeah, I got a big one actually.
Let's hear it.
There's this annual festival in our hometown, and Saturday night is like the night where some of our friends work the beer tent, and it's like a big high school reunion. Everybody goes out. You buy way too many drink tickets, so you have leftovers in the morning. So a few years ago, we started this thing. We call it the Porta Potty Challenge. And so Sunday after brunch, in the blazing sun of midday, you go and you and all of your idiot friends each sit in a different porta potty for as long as you can. So my regret is threefold. Number one is doing it in the first place. Number two is that I soiled my porta potty immediately upon entry. We had a rough brunch. We had a rough night before, and I took advantage of the facilities. General rule for porta potty challenge: you strip naked on entry.
Okay.
To best deal with the heat, because otherwise you're just sitting in a sweat puddle. So 3.5 hours later, I'm sitting there in the porta potty naked, smelling my own stench, and I gave up. So that's the third part is I lost the porta potty challenge. So that's my regret for the last couple weeks here is just everything that's kind of involved in the fraternity life that we live here at 602. I'm really getting too old for this shit.
Man,
but hey, all in good fun.
I'm gonna think back to this.
It's like, man, why?
But what you're saying is, obviously you regret doing it, but if you had to do it again, soil it towards the end. Don't like for anybody trying to do something like this, soil it at the end.
Yeah, and drink more water, like in the 12 hours previous. Instead of like 0 water, like maybe one cup of water. Something to keep you moving a little bit. But I was thinking this game, the Porta Potty Challenge itself, is perfect for August in Arizona.
I'll tell you, or the porta potty is locked.
Yeah, you just lock the door. You just hang out in there because you can't open the door. If you open the door, you lose.
I was gonna say maybe somebody on watch in Arizona with like the door unlocked just in case somebody passes out. Because yeah, in that Arizona heat, or you make it like a prerequisite, like you need to drink like a gallon of water before you go in there.
We just go in with a 5-gallon.
Passing out. That's like a jackass episode challenge. They
My
just
whole
wouldn't be
life,
able
my
to air
whole
that
life
shit
is a
for
jackass
too long.
challenge.
But that's great. Hey Rick, we can't win them all. So hey,
Can't win
I
them
know that
all.
was probably a tough one, but next year I know you're gonna make it back, and hey, you're gonna win it. I believe in you.
And I have high expectations for myself, and I kind of let myself down on this one. So it feels good to hear you believe in me.
I believe in you, Rick. I really do. And then your regret next year will be that you regret saying you regret doing it because you'd be a champion at that point.
Well, that's the thing. Like the regret will be that I won, but it took 8.5 hours. Like
Uh, oh man.
that's all I've got for this week, Jason. You got any closing thoughts?
My one closing thought is why Zimbabwe? Or was it
So
Madagascar? I can't even remember at this point.
I was
It
gonna
was
say Arizona, but like I know that's not true. So like I figure we just throw something out there, and maybe someone's like, "Well, Jason's never been to Africa before." I'm just trying to drive that comments. I'm just trying to drive that engagement.
I mean, what are the odds?
The hell of what? That we go to Africa?
Yeah.
Oh god. I'm gonna have to shoot out of
The
it.
next episode, if we do it, what are the odds? But
Man.
hey, we got a lot of, like you said, fantasy's coming up, jet season, potentially the Grom. So really excited for these next couple episodes.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice to get into some meat.
Yeah.
Instead of talking theory, let's get the football season here. Let's get the playoff baseball.
Let's talk numbers. Let's talk stats. Absolutely. Let's go.
Absolutely. But hey, in the meantime, the channel is firing on all cylinders right now. We have top 5 draft. We have heritage cooking. We have 2 different bachelorette shows. And even if you're not a bachelorette guy, check out Champagne and Thorns, which is the review show that we tricked 2 girls into doing. They are hilarious. They are absolutely hilarious. You don't even need to watch Bachelorette to get the jokes that they're doing. They are just tearing apart these guys. Rose Show is a little more technical. You probably don't want to watch Rose Show unless you play Fantasy Bachelorette, but feel free to give me a like and a subscribe anyway. And then me and Jason seeing you every couple weeks here for some JMR. So we got something for everybody.
Yeah, and hey, Rick, I'll vouch this is not a paid commercial, but like Rick said, there's something for everybody. There's factual shows, right? When, like you said, the Bachelorette and Bachelor shows are more factual. Maybe ours are top 5, maybe more opinionated sometimes, right? But you have comedy, you have seriousness, and you're dedicated, Rick. I mean, the fact that you do so many shows and care so much about him, like give him a like and a listen. Like it is truly awesome to be able to co-host this show with you. And I know Rick puts so much effort into all the other shows that he puts forth. So
We out here grinding.
Everyone.
Out here grinding, just like the Mets, man. Just like your favorite Jets quarterback.
Or DJ Khaled. Isn't that a DJ
Oh,
song, Out Here Grinding?
well,
I'd have
that's
to play
more.
the ending song for this episode.
I'll show it. I'll show it.
Man, we're out here grinding.
I'm more suffering from success myself.
Yeah, is there a song named that, or?
I think it's an album, but
Oh yeah, there we go.
Khaled's wild, man. Hey, thanks for joining us on Jets, Mets, and Regrets. We will see you guys hopefully with DeGrom back on the bump. Catch you next time.
See you guys.